Alright, and Joe Mullen here. Welcome back, you guys, to part 3. I will start off with something bad that happened. I had already filmed an intro and the first part of me sewing this together, but somehow I'm not sure if the camera died or I don't even know what happened, but that didn't get filmed, and the process in which I alter my patterns to reflect these alterations has been lost as well. But I'll walk you through it right now. So what happened, I essentially used the Princess Theme set to create my first sample. The sample ended up being a little too loose, which is why we took it in about, what is it, a 1/4 of an inch at the center front, which is why you see this red mark right here. A 1/4 of an inch is what, a 1/4 of an inch, so 1/2 of a 1/4 is an 1/8, so since it's already in fold, you have to remove an 1/8 to remove a 1/4, if that makes sense, because then it opens up and it doubles whatever you take away. So I removed an 1/8 from here and then squared it up to the front so it's still a straight edge that we could use on fold. We did that, and besides that, we lowered the armhole quite a bit because on the doll it was too fitted. Besides that, we fixed the hem of the top, which is why you see these red marks at the bottom, because I lined them up at the seam allowances and just squared it out. Didn't square it out, but I just smoothed it out to make it more cohesive and smoother together, I guess. So yeah, so now that you're caught up with what I've done, I will show. Sorry, I got interrupted there, like always. So what I was saying, you guys basically are caught up with what was changed here. The center front, fix this and lower the armhole a bit. This is just the first run through of this sample. Part 3 will only be doing the top. So besides fixing this set, we'll be working on this one, and then part 4 we'll go ahead and finish the pants and test them out and see if we have to make any fixes or alterations to it. But yeah, so now that you know what I changed on this one, we might as well just go in and start our final draft. Hopefully it fits nicely and it can be used to manipulate and to make other styles if it fits nicely. So yeah, let's get started on that. I'm gonna go ahead and do this, and then we'll start fresh with this pattern once we finish this one. So alright, hope you guys are excited as I am, and let's get into it. Alright, so I went ahead and cut all the pieces out. This, remember to iron it you just iron it before you start sewing it, so you know where it is, and when you try it on, you know where to fold it. But yeah, so I'm gonna get started. I'm gonna go ahead and sew this up really quickly off camera, and I'll be back with it sewn, and we'll try it on, and then we'll see where we need to adjust it. So we have it all sewn up. A few things I do know is that we do need to drastically drop the neckline. Some of the pattern edges, like corners, need to be straightened out. So here it is. This is that fold I told you about. You should just iron it beforehand. That way you know where to fold, where your seam allowances lie, and it's enough for like a zipper or whatever you may need. So as you can see, as you tighten it, you get it together, it tightens up over here. I do like how it fits, but there's this like little pucker here, and I'm not sure. It could be because I haven't slashed the seam allowance. I am not a big fan of how this turned out, so I'm gonna lower the neckline. I'm just gonna do 1/2, so I'm gonna go ahead and mark the half point on the front and back. Well, the back's already divided, but from there, okay, I'm gonna tilt this up a bit, gonna lower it about this much. As you can see, this is very small now, but we'll fix that in a bit. Take off the stand. So we lower it back here as well. Ooh, barely saw that. And this is a heat erasable pan, so I am not worried about staining. Okay, so I ended up lowering it even more. So I'm just gonna get a different color to confirm the line we're taking. Alright. So that's how much we're lowering the neckline. As you can already see how it's forming like a better form. I will keep a copy of this just for reference. You never know when you'll need like a really high neck, like princess seams, I guess. But we do have to fix this right here. So for the back side, I'm gonna start here, and I wanna, you know what, I'm gonna start with the arms. I'm gonna go ahead and remove it. And there we are, we have that. Okay, so I like how the arm, like how the armhole is on the front, but the back it's still pretty, it still goes in, so. And that's the new hole. I think I'll lower it and extend it a little more. Okay, it's back to red. So now we have to find a way to find the midpoint here. We're gonna mark it. It's about there. And then we have to blend it on both sides towards the same point. And we're only doing 1/2 because if you just do 1/2, you could just fold it and it'll be the same. So we do both, we'll risk having more differences and it'll just confuse us. Down here I also wanted to remove a bit, which is about, it's about 1/8 on both. So it's about I'm not sure, probably like 1/8. So I'll remember to remove 1/8. Let's just like mark it. So when we're blending, I'll just keep it there. So we mark this here, and for this over here, I think we could extend it more. Have that come over here, and this more over here. You see? This becomes a whole new piece. And then this right here becomes a whole other piece. So, and we do keep that there. So what we're gonna do is just cut along here and leave those seam allowance, like those seams there. Remove that eighth and just cut along the seam and just trim any seam allowances, and then we'll trace them over the original patterns and adjust them. So there they are. It's the armhole. We didn't do the back, so I like how the back looks for the most part, so I'm probably just going to blend that marking into the back here. And you'll have more. And after making all those markings and cutting everything out, remember to trace everything without counting any seam allowances. I kind of didn't take my own advice and forgot to remove the seam allowance the princess seams already came with, so I ended up extending them a bit. Besides that, just make sure they stay still. You could tape them up if you want, and then go over them with your pin and leave those markings there, and then just remove the tape and trace. Just make sure they don't shift too much. Also here you can see me using my little measurement tape, and it's only just to make sure all the seam allowances, all the patterns match up. If you measure the outside of the pattern, just measure the outside of the other one as well. That way you don't confuse yourself, because if you measure the outside and then the inside of a different pattern, like the outside of one and then the inside of a different, the measurements could differ a bit, and that's something I did without taking note, and I did struggle a bit at first. But once I realized it kind of made things go by a little quicker. But yeah. Last quick tip, do not be afraid to add a little bit to the seams, or like the shoulder seam or the hem, in order to match them up. Just don't go over, I would say, like a quarter of an inch or half a centimeter. So I went ahead and cut out all the patterns, and I'm going to go ahead and sew them up off camera, make things quick for everyone, and I'll show you once I'm trying it on the doll. And these are the updated patterns, just to remind you guys. Where'd they go? It's the pattern pieces we cut after tracing. So that's how they look. I sewed it, pressed it, and now it's ready to be tried on. I also snipped the seam allowances. And this is how it looks now. I think there's a little too much ease. Well, I think it's more balanced and a little better looking than before. I might go ahead and remove about, how much is this? So like half an inch from here. So I'll probably let me measure that. It's about 1 centimeter. So I'll probably just I'll do half a centimeter from here. gonna push it. Okay, so I am gonna change this. Instead of taking it from both sides, I am going to curve it. Since I'm realizing that most of the excess fabric is at the bottom right here, and if I was to remove the same amount up here, it just wouldn't close. So it has to be like a dark, like removal of fabric. Here I'm just lining it up. And that's kind of how it's gonna look. Now we go with our seam allowance. So before we cut, we have to make sure they're still the same length. Alright, so we recently just removed that extra amount from here, and I'm gonna go ahead and make another sample for the princess seams, which are the trickiest one. So hopefully this next one fits perfectly, and we're almost there. Alright, so here's the the recent sample. After taking in that amount over here, this is the previous one that's still loose. There it is. And this is by far the best fit we've had. Okay. Just gonna go ahead and sneak. Yeah, I think this is the best fit we've had. Even though it has some ease to it, you know, like it's still pretty fitted and it's not too loose to the point where it doesn't seem like it's a shirt for her. So I'm super happy with this, and I'm really glad I went back in there and really worked everything out. So yeah, all the pieces look slightly more balanced. This fits the bust of the curve a lot better now that it's more taken in out here. It doesn't look as weird without it being thinner in the center. So now from here, I'm just gonna leave the patterns how they are. If you wish to lower the neckline, just go ahead and like note how much, and then trace your patterns and adjust, and you'll be able to change them without losing your original ones. So I'm glad we were happy with this one, and it's time to get started with the second piece. Alrighty, so this is the two-piece pattern with 2 darts for the center front and 1 with the center back. And we have it right here. And if you haven't marked the back side, you can't really see it sometimes. Or if you can't get it to show through, just mark a pin and make a mark. It's a quick little tip. Boom. Might as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and sew these up off camera, and I will be right back. So this is how this pattern turned out. I actually think it's great. I love how it looks. Looks pretty classy. I gotta get under the skirt. So I'm gonna go ahead and put her arms back on. It kind of does go in, so we're gonna have to open up the sleeve a bit because this is not it. This look on, but okay. Yeah, this side looks like it's more aligned. Better. So I'm just gonna go ahead and take this apart and trace it over my patterns. But I really do like how it turned out. It's very nicely fitted. It's not as tight as the other one, the princess seams. That one still needs a little more work. But I'm glad that this one came out really great on the first try. I just really like how these two darts look in the back as well. So yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you how I do the markings for the patterns, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I realized that I might as well just fix the neckline while I'm here. So I went ahead and made 2 sets of the patterns that we had before. This is the original. I'm gonna leave it, it's just a copy, and this is the one I'm gonna show you how I altered to fit this alteration and marking we added to the actual shirt we made. So all we have to do is just place it over it, and we're gonna trace it, and then with the markings we'll go ahead and alter it, add seam allowance, and then trim, and then match everything up to make sure it fits. So let's get started with transferring the new measurements, or I mean markings, onto this pattern. It's pretty simple. If you don't have one of these, I'll show you how to do it with the pin, but it's pretty self-explanatory. Just align it nicely as best as you can, and just step right through the marking so it goes onto the paper, and when it's removed you can see how that marking is there. So just gonna go ahead and do it to this one as well. And there it is. I should have done this in pencil now that I think about it, but I'll probably just use a red pen to show the new parts. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do this one. And there we go. And these are the new measurements we transferred over, so you can see. Oh wait, wrong side. And that's the extra amount we took off. So let's move on to this one. Go ahead and use this. you can move this aside. Alright, so now we're just gonna add the new seam allowances and trim the excess off. So that's our new seam allowance. Now we just so it's just as simple as just gotta make sure it's gonna match up. Yep. We blended it into the curve. See how that looks really nice now. Go. Everything's looking good. I kinda wanna go in here a little more. But as for here, all you have to do is that. Extend the legs and we're set. So that will look how that'll be where these markings are with the seam allowance, just trimmed a little more. And it should fit their bodies a lot better. Go ahead and fold this. And this matches up nicely. I think we're done. So actually, I will go ahead and test this out. I'll sew everything off cam and be back with it on the doll. Alright, so this is the updated sample. So this is the pattern piece we matched to the markings we made on the first fabric sample. So this is how they turned out, and this is how the final sample looks. I think it came out pretty great. I am really proud of it. It fits nicely, not too tight, perfect, and we're all done. So this is the final fit for the double dark top sloper on Sakura, which is an entropy doll. She looks, let me turn her around a bit. And that's how the back looks. Now, over here on Jade, we have the princess seams, which are a little loose, but always adjustable. It's the back. So these are the original patterns we started with. I did have a mess up with the first one, but I did trace them, so I had backups. So this is one of the backups. Then over here, we have the princess seams. These were the ones we traced from the tape pieces. Then over here are the master patterns, which are the final fit. This and this is what we're gonna get from sewing these. and we can always change them, alter them, move a dart up, make it deeper, and yeah, they're essential patterns, and I'm beyond excited to be using them with you guys and showing you how to use them in various ways. I am really excited for part 4. We'll be doing the shorts or pant patterns. They could be both, but I just do shorts because it's uses less materials for the samples. Thank you guys for watching and sticking around for the entire video. If you did, I know these get pretty long, so thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe.